In the Impact segment tonight, a major controversy in the publishing world as Random House decides to pull a romance novel just days before its publication. The Jewel of Medina focuses on the relationship between the Muslim prophet Muhammad and his child bride. But when the publisher sent out some advance copies, they were warned that the material could be offensive to Muslims and that it might incite violence. Joining us now from New York is Irshad Manji. She's the director of the Moral Courage Project at NYU and author of the book, The Trouble with Islam Today. And Irshad, it's great to see you again.
Thanks for having me back, Laura.
Random House, big deal publisher. It's considered one of the premier publishers in the United States of America. Now I guess we can conclude, Irshad, that if a few Muslims say that it offends them, pull it from the shelves, even if it's already been sent out and the advance has been paid. That's amazing.
Laura, this is amazing and absurd on any number of levels. First of all, it isn't even Muslims who said that this would offend them. It was a non-Muslim professor at the University of Texas who decided that this is going to be too offensive to too many Muslims. And so you can see, Laura, that, we reform-minded Muslims are really fighting for a pluralistic and open-minded Islam on more than one front. It's not just the conservatism of our own community that we're challenging. It's also the conservatism dressed up as liberalism on the part of politically correct non-Muslims. This is why, this fight will be so difficult to win, and yet it's so urgent to wage.
Can you imagine if some Catholic theologians would call up the publisher of the Da Vinci Code, say, this really makes us uncomfortable. Can you do something about this? Can you imagine any publisher responding to Christian conservatives, Catholics, frankly, any other religious group in this way? I think they'd say, take a hike.
Right, and don't buy the book. And they would actually squeeze the controversy for as many sales as they possibly could. I think that this shows, first of all, that publishers in the West have very, very low expectations of Muslims. By pulling this book, what they're really doing is infantilizing all Muslims. They are assuming that all Muslims are children, incapable of handling challenges with maturity. But I can tell you, Laura, that even a mainstream Muslim who runs a moderate website called altmuslim.com has been quoted as saying, look, this kind of preemptive censorship is not good for our community, and we can't silence our way out of problems. So who exactly are we afraid of here? It is the political correctness of non-Muslims that needs to be as much challenged as the censorship that fundamentalist Muslims might wish to impose.
It reminds me, Irshad, of the controversy back in the 80s at my college, at Dartmouth College, where all these non-American Indians were saying they were so offended by the Indian symbol.
Yeah.
And so, of course, the Indian symbol was shelved. And meanwhile, alumni and students and a lot of Indian chiefs across the United States were saying, it doesn't offend us at all.
Right.
What are you talking about?
Right.
It's just,
but can I just say one other thing about this, Laura, which is that the absurdity level of this is even worse, because we're talking about a publisher. This is a business that is in it for free expression. And they're jettisoning this principle of an open society, by the way, not on the basis of any threats, credible or otherwise, but on the basis of sheer fear. So the greatest irony here is that as Americans, are about to determine who the next leader of the free world is going to be, one has to wonder about our own institutions in this country and whether they are giving this country the worthiness of being called land of the free, home of the brave.
So, Irshad, only about 60 seconds, but so you think it's not so much fear of physical violence toward the publishing house, but fear of this liberal moral approbation?
Or fear of lawsuits. Let's be blunt about it. And I can tell you that it isn't the first time I've heard about it. I myself have experienced this fear on the part of publishers. Laura, when my own book, The Trouble with Islam Today, was being submitted for publication, it took submission to 40 publishers in Britain alone for one of them to touch it. And when pushed, they said that they feared another replay of Salman Rushdie. They didn't mean translators being blown away because this was going to be in English in Britain. They meant litigation. That is what it boils down to, so much for principles.
And everyone from Ayaan Hirsi Ali and so many others who've been struggling for free expression on the part of Muslims. I appreciate it so much. Irshad Manji, thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
And directly